All right, so welcome back to another exciting adventure in our pre-camp escapades this year, our regular roundtables. I told you that we would do these regular meetings just to kind of keep you in the loop as to where things are, to the extent that we are able to share information. This is a very unusual year, obviously, because we're dealing with the COVID-related realities. So things are going to stay pretty fluid, I think, throughout the spring, as we're working on getting ready to open up camp. Let's see. I think I saw Rihanna. You're on here, right? Did I see you on there? Can I make you a co-host again?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you. Perfect. Then you can just help me out with the late arrivals there. Okay, yeah, well, you can see I really love this photo of the high course. So this gives us a chance to show it off a little bit more, but it does look really great from up top there. So talk a little bit about things that are updated, changed since the last time we met about 1 month ago. The latest information is that, of course, first off, New York State has eased its travel restrictions, which is a good thing for those of our units that would be joining us this summer from outside of New York State. We had already been in a pretty comfortable position with all the troops that would be from states adjacent to New York. They were already under a bit of a blanket allowance, but we do have folks coming from Maryland, so they were not quite adjacent to New York. So this change in the restrictions helps out with them. I'm looking at numbers, same numbers you guys are seeing, but just in terms of the projections from the federal government and elsewhere, as far as the projections of when different groups are going to be allowed in to be able to vaccinate and how fast we're moving through those vaccinations. I know we're moving faster. The latest reports are that we're moving faster than the administration initially predicted when they first took office in January. So that's good. New York State today just expanded the eligible pool to anyone 50 and over. So we're starting to see more. Mike Shaver is very excited about that. Congratulations, Mike. You come on down and get your free vaccine. So that's good. We get to see more people. I think that based on what I'm seeing, I'm hopeful that we should be able to see all adults being eligible for vaccination with a good distance before camp opens. I know that's sort of just the projections that I'm looking at, which would include our staff is a critical one for me, making sure that the staff is eligible to get their vaccinations before camp. So I think, fingers crossed, I think we're headed in that direction. So that's good. The other new development is that I think it was on Friday, excuse me, the CDC issued updated guidance with regard to schools and said that the recommendation now, or the allowance now within schools, is 3 feet of distance rather than 6 feet. The 6 feet is the thing that has caused a lot of our schools to have to do shifts for kids coming into the building and hybrid schedules and all the rest of the fun that we've been working with. But the CDC says that they've seen no difference in the cases in schools that have had 3 feet distancing as long as masks are being used. That doesn't apply to the adults in the building. Teachers and other professionals in the building are still supposed to be at 6 foot separation, but the students are able to be at 3 foot. And again, this is talking about schools and it's talking about an indoor environment, but as I'm trying to read the tea leaves for where we might be for camps in the next couple of months, I see that as a positive sign that you're talking 3 feet is safe within an indoor setting in a school as long as masks are being worn. We obviously have the advantage of virtually our entire program, with the exception of meal times, is outside, and so therefore that we're already better off than being in an indoor setting in a school. So I think that 3 foot distancing, I'm hoping that we won't be any worse than that in terms of the guidelines for how we would be able to operate. And I'm having to read between the tea leaves, read the tea leaves and read between the lines a little bit on some of this stuff, because we're still waiting for New York's guidance for summer camps. DOH still has not revealed their mysteries yet for what exactly we will need to be working on for this year. That's why I chose to put my little hourglass of sand there emoji, because that pretty much signifies my mood these days, of just waiting for DOH to share with us what they are looking for. I said to somebody the other day, like, my hope is that part of the reason why it's taking this long and we're getting a little bit delayed in the process is that the later it takes for us to get news, the better the news will be, because we'll be able to take into account some of these changes in the CDC guidance that have come forth. So that, maybe if we had gotten the guidance on, say, March 1st, it would be fairly restrictive. But if we get it on April 1st or April 15th, or hopefully not much later than that, it will take into account the progress that seems to be being made, and that we'll be able to account for that. So what that means is that as far as tonight's program is concerned, I'm not going to have a whole lot of new to share with you compared to what we had last month. I will go over a few things. We'll talk about some stuff particularly useful for anybody that didn't join us last month, and I'll be happy to answer any questions I can, and I will take notes on any questions that I cannot answer for you at this time. But until New York State gives us the guidance, everything is fairly uncertain, right? Even the stuff that I think I know what we're going to do, until I get confirmation from New York State that that's approved, it's kind of all theoretical at this point. But we'll share with you. We do have some new information for you on some things. We'll talk a little bit more about our progress and what to expect over the rest of the season, and then I'll be happy to take any questions that you have. One thing that we have that is new is a new camp fundraiser opportunity. And that is something that the council is putting on. It's a camp card fundraiser. And we've got Holly Rogers and Beth Bush on the call this evening to talk with you guys a little bit about that. So let me just pull up their slides there. And I think it was Holly, whoever it is, take it away.
Thanks, Brian. My name's Holly Rogers. If you can, or actually, these are the camp cards that we have. The first one's the North Camp card, and the second one's the South Camp card. The North Camp card is for the Adirondacks, mostly district, and the South card is for the other ones. The Turning Point,
like the South card is like the Capital Region, Glens Falls area, and then the North, it does include some places for Glens. Sometimes people don't associate Glens Falls with Adirondacks, but it's there.
Yeah. Yeah, I was saying you froze for a second, so it's for Turning Point also. There's about 4 things there that Glens Falls can use on the North card if they want to do that. So, Brian, if you can turn to the next thing. Real quick, each card sells for $10 a piece. Each scout receives $50 commission or $5 from each card sold. The unit is responsible for the money. Unless the unit is not selling, then the scouts can sell on their own. But the money does have to go for something for scouts. It can't just go on, on something else. It does have to go for something for scouts.
Yeah, so basically the unit, as with any kind of fundraiser and any decision, the unit has to make the ultimate decision on how the money is spent. Our purpose for the camp cards is for kids to raise money to go to camp. Ultimately, we want as many kids as possible to go to camp. That is the epitome of what scouting is about, getting them out, having all those great times. And Brian does a great job with those kids, and they leave that week of camp completely scouting and all the great things that they did. So that's where we want them to be. That is our purpose for the card. And we really, really, really want to make sure that everyone wants to get there can get there. So making sure that the units do think about where they're utilizing these funds. If a scout sells enough where they sell their whole, they sell enough where they pay for all their camp, they can keep selling and earn enough money to help with the trading post, or, oh, they need new sleeping bag or equipment. That's another thing. Oh, they need a fishing pole. Great. So those things they can certainly sell these for as well.
For every 20 cards that the scout sells, they can be entered for a free week of camp. They just need to let us know, the troop can let us know which kids have sold the 20 cards, and we'll enter them in for the drawing, and that'll be at the end after we get all the cards in and stuff after June 8th. No money is due when the cards are picked up by the unit or family. All unsold cards and final settlements are due to the office, to the service center by June 8th. That is a Monday. So if you want to drop it off earlier, that's fine. But by June 8th, we do need them, and there is a 2% charge after that for being late. There's 3 ways to sell: in person, the storefront, and online. In person would be door to door. The kids can get, the scouts through the troops can get the cards. Just let Beth or I know. There's an online through our website that the troops can order them. We do have a storefront on the TRC website that units can go through, or not units, sorry. People can go through and order them, and they'll be sent to them once a week. Beth and I will be doing that. And or also online, they can do that.
So I'd like to add, when she was talking about the online with our website, we've got it set up so that way a scout can go on Facebook or social media, share the web address to our online store for that particular item, the camp card, and then their customers can go in there and buy the cards right on there. We'll send them a week. And then all there is a little box that the scout can give their code. That person puts their scout code in there, and those scouts will get credit for that. And then with the in-person, of course, there's cash available for that. And if the scout unit would like to accept checks, that's up to the scout unit. And with that also in person, we have the Trails End app ready for the camp card as well. So a lot of you are used to the Trails End for popcorn. The Trails End app is now also available for taking credit cards for these in-person or storefront sales. So if a kid sells to their neighbor and their neighbor wants to pay by credit card, they want to buy one of each or multiples or whatever, they can swipe the credit card right through or put in the number right through the Trails End site, and they don't have to worry about having a credit card company to do that. And then Trails End will credit the unit's checking account with the funds that are gained from that. And for the storefront, it's the same thing. You can accept cash, credit card, or checks if the unit wants to collect those. And keeping in mind that we do know that we have spoken to some Walmart stores, not everyone, but we've spoken to some Walmart stores. They're already starting to allow people to sell in front, especially the one in Albany. We've spoken to the big one. They've already said we're all on board. So that's exciting. So they can go, all of you guys can go to, even in your own town, and look to your mom and pop stores or some of the other places that you know of, maybe Stewart's, for example, and start getting kids out there again. Go ahead, Holly.
What we're doing also is Beth and I are once a week are going to be having training on the camp cards for more information that goes in deeper of not to waste too much of your time tonight. Or not that we're wasting your time, but you know what I mean. To get too much into it. But we will be having trainings once a week about the camp cards and have more information. And there is on our website, the TRC website, under fundraising, there is a recorded part of one of the trainings. And there's a lot more information on there. If there's any questions or anything, you can always get my email. It's holly.rogers@scouting.org. Just email me and I can get right back to you.
And with that, also on the same page, the fundraising When you drop down the fundraising, you'll be able to see where you can go and sign up to sell the cards. There is a camp card page. So when you hit the fundraising menu, you'll see a few different things go down. You'll see the camp card page. So there you'll find ask questions, you'll find pictures of the cards, you'll find a parent and leader guide. So there's more answers there. And like Holly said, there is a recorded version of one of our trainings. And I did see in the chat, a question came up about the weekly trainings. Will they be different or the same? Well, they will be similar. We'll be talking about the same things, but if somebody asks us a question that is different than maybe another one, that will be different. And of course, we did the one, and we always find that we'll do better as we go. So if you want to check out one more, if you've checked out that one, I'd suggest check out one more, or maybe it'll even help you get through them.
Yeah, but we're not holding information. There's no information that, I mean, if there's new information that comes out, it'll definitely be in the new one, but that information will be going out to everyone anyways. So it won't have more information in it that you wouldn't have gotten already.
Like I said, unless there's questions, but they're
Right.
pretty much the
It'll
same
just be-
questions that
Yeah,
come up generally. So what we had done though is taken that first training, utilized, came from that, and are now adding that to our second training. So that way we make sure that we're answering the questions that you have, not what's already in our head. We already know sometimes we don't always get everything out. So if you guys have any other questions, please let us know. And you go on that camp card page. There is a place where you can go ask us questions right on there, and it'll come straight to us. Holly, do you have anything else?
I don't think so. It'll just be new and improved, the trainings that we're doing.
I love it.
Thank you, Brian, for letting us come in on the meeting.
No, absolutely. Any questions for Holly or Beth? All right.
Thanks,
Thank you very
Brian.
much, ladies. Okay, so just putting my own plug for the camp cards. As I said, one thing, that $10 charge for each of the card, there's a lot more than $10 worth of coupons on each of those cards. So something that's a real bonus. I know I will definitely get my $10 worth plus just from Duck Donuts. So feel free to take part in that opportunity this year. Okay, so as I sort of said at the top there, we are still unfortunately waiting for guidance from New York State as to what they are expecting us to do differently this year in a COVID environment versus what we have typically done in the past. As I said, we know how to run camp in a normal environment. We've got an experienced team. We know what we're doing. We've got the plans in place to set things up. The question is, what do we need to do that's going to be different for COVID? Obviously, we're already thinking about this. We're working through some of the thoughts and plans, working through our schedule and kind of figuring out where the trickier parts might be for a COVID environment. I've got my own school experience. I'm working at a public school, so I know kind of what's going on in that environment. But I don't want to leap to certain changes before the state tells us we have to do so. So, because obviously some of those would be more restrictive than others. So we're still in this, what do we know versus what do we don't know kind of a game with this. So as we've talked about before, we will be doing food service differently than we've done in the past. The plan, I think, is going to be a cafeteria style service. So instead of everybody going down the line and everybody grabs the same spoon as they're serving themselves, there will be people serving the food in there. What we need to figure out, and this is going to be in part based on what state tells us, in part based on where your numbers end up coming in with the registrations and how large of a camp we'll have on any given week. I still have units that are reaching out as late as today to sign up for camp. So we're still adding units as we go here. So that plays a little bit of a role in what our numbers in camp are going to be looking like. But we basically, I think what we're probably looking at is if we need to have more social distancing in place, then we have facilities like the Grizz Pavilion outside the dining hall to be able to spread people out, or do we look at possibly rotating people through the dining hall, rotating units through the dining hall for each meal? there's a lot of trade-offs with that. So I'm not sure I want to go that direction unless we need to, but it's, something that we're at least kind of keeping as in the back of our minds as a possibility. One of the trade-offs being that meals obviously get a lot longer, and so our program schedule has to kind of move a little bit to adjust to that. I'm not committing to that yet because I'm hoping that we'll find other alternatives that will work better before we have to move something like that. Tenting arrangements, I think I may have made a reference to this at the last meeting, that one of the questions I've asked our sanitarian, in fact, I just reached out to them this past last 48 hours, is to say, based on what do you think we might have to be single occupancy in tents because of COVID? If people are not from the same household, can we only put one person in a tent? They couldn't give me an answer yet. They're basically just like, until we get the New York State guidance, they're not sure on our local county level whether or not that's something that we would need to do. If that's a situation that we are required to do, then that would be a situation where we'd be asking the units to bring tents with you to complement the inventory that we have, so that you could basically double up the number of tents or add to the number of tents, so that basically we've got two things that we've got to work around with that. One is potentially the COVID requirement of not having more than one person from the same, unless they're from the same household, sharing a tent. The other is the youth protection guideline that says that even people from the same household cannot share a tent if they are youth and there's more than 2 years difference between them. So we got a lot of things that we're going to have to work through if that becomes a requirement. I'm being upfront with you now that that's something that we're thinking about, that we might have to implement, that's, I think, the best way to respond to that if we have to do a single occupancy. But until the state tells me we have to do single occupancy, this is really just still anticipatory, trying to figure out where the challenges might be. To the question by BSA youth protection standards, the maximum distance, maximum age gap between two youth that can share a tent is 2 years, even if they are siblings. So that's a national YPT standard, but ultimately that is enforced on a unit level in terms of how you guys deal with that. So 2 siblings 3 years apart would not be able to tent together by BSA YPT standards. Social distancing and masks, again, I think that the CDC's latest information is a very positive development there, that they're recognizing that in school environments, 3 feet is sufficient. So hopefully we're good with at least that, and certainly nothing more restrictive than that when dealing with outdoor teaching spaces. But I think I'm anticipating at this point that within teaching spaces, certainly, and within areas where scouts and adults are congregated in fairly close proximity to one another, that masks will still be a requirement. They're not going to need them to go swimming. They're not going to need them when they're kind of out walking across the parking lot field or something like that by themselves or with their buddy, but they've got some distance. But within those teaching environments, that may still be a requirement that we're expecting. Program, I put this up, this is just the same slide from the last time, but basically just for those who are new to this meeting and who have been with us in the past, we are going to be doing online merit badge registration this year. That will go through the same portal that you used for camp registrations. And so that will be set up, and we anticipate releasing that for you guys to begin doing the online merit badge registration in mid-May. It's not going to be before that, but you'll be able to go in and do that at that time. Kurt, the answer to your question, the tents that we provide are the canvas style wall tents, 9 foot by 7 foot, big traditional scouting green wall tents. That is what we provide. Program schedule will be out prior to the registration for the merit badges. The programs that we are going to be offering, or at least that we plan to be offering, are all listed in the leader's guide that is available on our website. We have not released the hour by hour schedule yet, again, because I just want to see what New York State is going to ask of us before we do that. That could have an impact on the number of youth that we can fit into a program area at a time. And that will dictate how many sections we may be able to offer at a time. Most of our program areas offer 3 merit badges at least simultaneously, with some going even more than that, like down at aquatics. Aquatics is easy enough to separate people out into different teaching spaces. Some of the other program areas, it's a little bit more challenging. The space is a little bit tighter. So based on what the state tells us as far as the proximity of participants, we may have to make some tweaks to the schedule so that we're not overloading our program sites. That's the only reason I'm holding that back. But otherwise I've got a schedule good to go. It's just holding it back for that purpose. But the programs that we intend to offer are all detailed in the Leader's Guide, including the list of merit badges. I'll just put in another plug for staff. We're still doing some interviews. We did a round of interviews a couple weeks ago, and I've had a bunch of more applications that have come in since then. So I need to do another round of interviews for those new applicants that are coming through. That's really good. CITs, welcoming still more CITs to come in. If you have any 15-year-olds that are in your program that you think would make for strong staff members, please encourage them to consider that program. Staff are 16 and up. We also still have some opportunities potentially available for some senior staff members. As I said, the interviews are ongoing, and there is an online application, real easy. They can go right to our website, complete the online application. There's a link right on the front page of our website, and I will get that information and we will reach out to them to schedule an interview. Camp fees, as I mentioned the last time, still not changed since 2019. There is a sibling discount. It is $40 off for the second sibling and every sibling thereafter. That's new for us this year, so we're excited about that. And anybody that may be considering coming back for a second week as a provisional scout, there is a second week discounted fee option that is now up on the registration portal for the weeks of camp. So if you've got a scout that wants to sign up for a second week of camp, they can do that now, and they would just choose the second week provisional option on there, and it'll just charge them $250 for that second week. So all those options are available. Just want to go over the registration process a little bit one more time. This is obviously, I appreciate your working through the process this time. It's always an adventure when we have a new model, a new portal for doing this. And because this was launched so recently, I mean, this registration website was only launched in February, and then we were asking you guys to submit camp payments in March. So that didn't give much time. Most of you did not have scouting event accounts set up yet. And on my end, because it was so new, even on my end, I didn't have the opportunity to create some of the support materials that I've given you guys in the past as far as walking you through the process to do that. Despite that, folks seem to handle the new registration process overwhelmingly well. There were a few wrinkles and bugs, and I appreciate your patience as we worked through some of those, and we'll still work through some of those. The thing to remember, and I'll talk about this more in detail, and I'll get some more tutorials and guidance out there before the May 1st balance is due. But when you make any additional payments for camp, or if you're going to register additional scouts, make additional payments, whatever it is, do not go to the calendar where the camp week is on there, like the Twin Rivers Council calendar on their website, where the camp week is, and go and hit like register, enter the number of youth and hit register. That's going to generate an entirely new registration for your unit. And you won't see any of the stuff that you've already put into your account. The way to do this is to log into your scouting event account. And so on the Twin Rivers Council website, and I'm going to add this to our website as well, there's a link under the More menu. First one says Login Scouting Event. Go there, log into the scouting event account that you set up as a Scoutmaster for signing into your account, and that's where you will go and put in additional funds or put in additional registrations of new leaders or new youth. And that way it'll all go into the same account that you have already started with the finances already there. The balance is due. Yeah, you know what? That is a typo on there. That should say May 15th. Let me just double check that and make sure I got that right. I don't want to.
You're right on that, Brian.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay. So that should say, yeah, thank you, Lee, for pointing that out. So that should be May 15th, the balance is due. Apologize for the typo on the slide there. So it's all 15s, right? March 15th was the individual deposits for the scouts. May 15th is the balance is due. And then June 15th is when we blow crossovers have until to get in there. We talked about the COVID cancellation policy last time, that basically families will have the ability to withdraw a scout up to 2 weeks before that scout is due in camp. for COVID-related reasons and still be able to get the full refund on that. We're hoping that that gives you the confidence and gives the families the confidence that they can commit now to camp and not try to hedge their bets and wait, you know, a month or two till they see where things are headed, because we really can use those numbers right now to be able to plan for camp. And the online campership application is available on our website. You go right on the front page of the website. The first article in our news section is the link to the campership application. So those can be submitted that way as well. And then I'm just going to keep mentioning this at every meeting I have, just so that, you know, yes, to Brian, yes, that means we're seeing an increase in cases locally, but not enough for us to cancel camp, you know, but the family is starting to get a little nervous and they want to withdraw the scout for that reason. Then they have up until 2 weeks to do that. If a scout is sick and cannot make it to camp, that's always been covered under our policy. This was more of a COVID specific thing. Let's see, the sibling discount is being added after the fact. That was one of the wrinkles we had with the new system, is that it was supposed to apply that automatically based on the names and addresses of the scouts and recognize that there was a family connection there, and kind of fancy technology would automatically take care of it. We had a few wrinkles with that. So that's being put in retroactively. And to Kurt's question about the New York State guidance, waiting before deciding on a family night, that's correct. As I said last time, and I don't think my views have really changed too much on this, I would suspect at this point, I am not confident that we're going to do a family night. I think the situation would need to be significantly improved for us to take that risk. It's not worth the risk of having 100 additional adults coming into camp, interacting with scouts of your units as well as other units, and being in close proximity to one another, which would make contact tracing a nightmare if we ever did have an issue that we had to deal with. So I would not count on the fact that we're going to do a family night program this year. I'll leave it to open until we see where things are headed, that we could always revise that decision later on. But at this point, I don't think that that's yeah, to Tammy, the same thing. As I said, there was a glitch in the sibling calculation initially. It applied it to all youth initially, which was not what it was supposed to do, but we've been working on fixing that since then. So let me just finish up this point here, and then I'll turn it over to any additional questions that you guys have. As I said, I just want, you know, repetition, repetition, repetition. I want to repeat this same planning ahead slide at each one of these meetings I have, so that you remember what you need from your other adult leaders before we come to camp, which is that medical forms are required for all scouts. And since, you know, I know a lot of people skipped out on doctor's appointments in the last year and all sorts of other non-essential kinds of appointments, now's the time to make sure that families are getting the doctor's appointments scheduled for their scouts, because a complete BSA medical form with parts A, B, and C, including the medical practitioner's signature, are required for all youth, and they are required for all adults that are spending at least 72 hours in camp. So you got a few months now to try to make sure that those are all taken care of. Now is the time to be asking the families, do you have a current form? If not, do you have an appointment scheduled? So that you don't end up with a situation where, you know, they're scrambling on the 1st of July to try to get something squared away. For adults that are staying less than 72 hours, and that's a cumulative total spread across the week, not just I stay for 72, I leave camp to go get coffee, I come back and reset the clock. If you're staying for less than 72 hours, we do not need the part C of the form, which is the medical practitioner's signature part, but we do need parts A and B. That's going to have your health history, it's going to have your emergency contact information, all the stuff that you can fill in yourself without requiring the medical practitioner to sign off on that. And that just gives us some additional information in case you were to have an accident or an emergency at camp. We would know who to call, and we would have your health history on file to be able to respond to that. So please make sure that those forms are brought with you when you come to camp. And then the additional requirements as far as registration and youth protection. All adults that are spending time at camp as part of the supervision of the unit, whether they're coming in for an overnight, or I would even add, you know, maybe somebody that's coming in to cover a day shift because somebody's got to go to work, and so another adult is coming in to cover the site during the day. If they're spending a day there, they're spending a significant amount of time there providing supervision. They need to go through the CDC, or the New York State background check, and have current youth protection training. And so we handle the background check. What's going to happen is that in late May, I will send you a Google form that is going to ask you to give me the names of all adults who will be coming or may be coming to camp, to give me first and last names and their date of birth, as well as their youth protection date and whether or not they are registered with BSA. That's it. It's pretty easy information. I don't need their BSA registration number. I don't need their social security number, but I do need those 4 pieces of information. And we will run them through the New York State background check, and we will have on file their youth protection dates and their BSA registration status. So we'll handle that all for you. My strong recommendation, and I'll keep repeating this every meeting, is please submit any parent or adult that you think there might be a chance that they come to camp. Even if you're not sure, even if they haven't told you that they're coming to camp, that way we can run them before camp starts and they're all on our list already pre-approved. Because if they walk into camp with their backpack on and say, I'm, Johnny Smith's dad and I'm here to spend the night, and it's 6 o'clock, we're going to have to turn them away if they're not on our roster, because at 6 o'clock, I can't call the state office to do a background check because they've all gone home. So please make sure that everybody is on your roster that could possibly be there. It's not a bad idea, by the way. Take all your parents and leaders. You're going to get a free criminal background check out of the process. And we haven't had anything turn up yet on any of the last few years that we've been doing it, and hopefully we never will. But it's not a bad thing for you to get that extra peace of mind for the parents and leaders that are part of your unit, that they've been run through that. I will send that. So the information that you're going to need is just their name, their legal first and last name, their date of birth, their youth protection date, and you're just going to answer a question as to whether or not they are currently registered with the unit. That's it. That's all I'm going to need for that. The first 2 points of information are for the background check for the state requirement. The second 2 pieces of information are for BSA's requirements, because we have to meet both standards, New York State and the BSA. So there is a little bit of a difference there, that it comes down to that 72-hour rule again, which is that any adults that are staying more than 72 hours, again, that's a cumulative number across the week, they do need to be registered with the Boy Scouts and have gone through the Boy Scouts criminal background check process. So that means turning in an application to the council office on Friday when you're checking into camp on Sunday isn't really going to work, because the office hasn't had a chance to submit that paperwork and have the CBC run. So please make sure that those are turned in at least a few weeks before, but as early as possible, so that they are registered with the Scouts. They can be registered as an assistant scoutmaster, a committee member, whatever. They can even be registered as a merit badge counselor, whatever the registration is, just so that they are registered with BSA and they've gone through that criminal background check process for the BSA. If they are less than 72 hours, they do not need to be registered with the BSA, but they still need the YPT. Okay, still need to have current youth protection training. And as I said, that data collection form will come out to you guys in late May. This does not apply to somebody who is just coming in for a visit. So somebody's dropping off a pair of, extra socks or new pair of boots, or picking up a kid for a baseball game or whatever. Or if we do have Parents' Night, it doesn't apply to Parents' Night visitors either. So the distinction that I would basically say is for people that are providing overnight supervision, or who are providing a substantial supervision of the youth during the day by coming in and supervising the campsite. That would be the guidelines that I would use for that. Okay, so let me take a look. I see some questions coming in here. For first-year Scouts, do they need to select the merit badge covered in Trail to First Class, or just bring pre-populated blue cards? They do not need to select the merit badge that's in Trail to First Class. Trail to First Class includes mammal study merit badge as part of the curriculum for that program. And so that'll just be one of the things that they do. So that will be part of that. As far as blue cards, we are looking at a couple of options as far as transitioning possibly to an online version of blue cards, but we still have to figure out a couple things. There's a couple of different options and we need to work out a few details on that, but it's possible we may not be using the physical paper blue cards this year. I will give you more on that at a future meeting on that. But with the online merit badge registration, we may be able to tie online record keeping into that. There are some opportunities there. It's just a question of whether we have the technology and the the capabilities to be able to take full advantage of that. Is this roster on the camping registration, even if they're not listed as a, Trudy, could you clarify your question there? Is this the roster on the camping registration, even if they're not listed as an attendee? I'm not sure I understand the question, Trudy. I'm going to assume maybe Trudy is typing. There we go. We have to add a roster and then pick people to attend. Okay, so the roster that you're talking about there, the new registration portal does have an option that I know some of you used to be able to upload an existing roster so that you don't have to type in the names and the BSA ID numbers for your participants. And you do have the option. That is an option. It's not something you have to do, but you can upload a roster into a scouting event and then just use that to pick the people that are, when you're adding a kid to their camp registration or adding an adult leader for a camp registration, you can select them from your existing roster. So that's a feature that you may find advantageous. A tip, the one easy way that you can do that, because it has to be in a CSV file, is if you go to your my.scouting account, if you are one of the key leaders for your unit, you can export your unit roster already in a CSV file format from your my.scouting account, and then just upload it back into the registration portal, the scouting event portal. So if I just blew your mind with a lot of tech jargon, feel free to just like shoot me an email or something like that, and I can help you out with that. But it requires a very specific format, which is a CSV format. And there's one already sitting in your my.scouting accounts. That's the place where you go to do your youth protection and your rechartering and stuff like that. It's all in there. You can just export it to your computer and then import it back up into the scouting event registration portal that we use. That is, I'm not sure why you had to do that. I did not have to do that. I did this with my roster and I did not have to remove them. What you do have to do is before you upload it to the registration portal, you have to create an additional column that says youth or adult, and you have to label it as such for each participant. You have to label whether they're a youth or adult, and then you can import it into the scouting event for your camp registration. So makes it a little bit easier than entering the data. And plus that data is now in your account. So when you are registering for camporees or for other events coming up in the next scouting year, it's already in there. You don't have to duplicate that effort. It'll be stored for you. So that's one of the advantages of the new system. So yes, if you're adding a roster, just make sure that you create that additional column that says youth, adult, and then you indicate for each person whether they are a youth or adult, and then you should be able to import the roster without a problem. That is separate from what I was just talking about. What I was just talking about is I'm going to make it real easy for you. I'm going to send a Google form to the camp contacts, and I'm just going to ask you to fill it in. The best way to do this is for the camp contact to just collect the information from the adults in their unit, and that one camp contact put everybody in, rather than send an email out to the unit and say, hey, everybody, would you please put your information into this form? Because then that camp contact knows that everybody did it. If you just send the form out to your leaders and your parents and say, hey, could everybody just put in your information into this form, you're not going to know whether or not they did so or not. And then you may end up getting to camp and find out that you thought people were registered and they weren't. So if I could ask the camp contacts to just kind of take some ownership of that process, just tell your parents you need those 4 pieces of information from each of them and put it into the form. It really doesn't take very long to enter the data, and then that'll come back. So that's separate, because that's going to include, you've got a new parent, you've got a parent of a first-year camper that you think that first-year camper is probably going to be making a phone call home at some point that they need a little bit of parental support on an overnight, but that parent is not registered with the troop in any capacity yet. Make sure that they're on the form. That way, if they come in, they're covered. Okay. What other questions do you have? You can unmute yourself and ask, or I'm monitoring the chat box. I think I've caught everything that's come through the chat box so far. Other questions that you have?
Ryan, are the the patrols or the troop gonna have to do like the same merit badges, or are we waiting for COVID protocols for that as well? Or like would we be able to split up to do different merit badges?
Our expectation is that we will be able to follow a typical schedule of scouts being able to pursue their own merit badge schedules. That's what we're planning for at this time, but that is one of the reasons why I'm holding off on the schedule until I find out more from the state as to what's required, because we're going to have to think about how that relates in terms of contact tracing and the like. But as of right now, that is our plan, is to move forward with a traditional program.
Thank you.
Yep, it's a great question. Other questions? Question about sleeping arrangements and how to sign up for merit badges. Again, the tenting issue, we're still waiting for some guidance from the state on that as to whether or not we'll be able to do double occupancy. If not, we'll be asking units to supplement the tents that we provide with troop tents so that we can get everybody into the site. Merit badges will be done online through the registration portal, and we'll have more information about the mechanics of how to do that as we get closer to it. But that would be, we'd expect that will go live after the balances are paid. So the balances are due May 15th. So after that deadline would be when the merit badge registration would go live. I'm trying to keep some of the, one of the advantages of doing the merit badge registration that way this year, even though it is new for us, is that avoids yet another area where we had a lot of scouts congregating. That in this year in particular, that's not a great idea to have everybody congregating for a merit badge sign up. The other thing that I'm probably going to do, I've been thinking about, is that we will do the traditional Sunday night leader meeting via Zoom the week before. What I'm probably going to do is say like Monday night prior to you coming out to camp. So the week before, or we'll pick a night and we'll say, okay, if you're coming out next week, tonight's your leader meeting night. We'll do a quick leader meeting via Zoom. That way we don't have to have a congregation on that Sunday night either. Current troops can absolutely cook at their sites. We have a limited program for the commissary program. I know 53, I think, has a long history of doing a lot of cooking in sight. So ours is a pretty limited commissary program in that we give you a menu. Yeah, I remember, I know 53. We do a kind of a selection of a la carte meals. There's like usually about 4 or 5 meals for breakfast, lunch, and dinner that you can choose from, and we will get that out to you and deliver and whatnot. But it is, it may be, we can talk more about it offline if you're interested, but it may be a little bit more limited than what you are typically used to. Commissary really has not been a very popular option with our units in a very long time. We have a few units that'll do a couple meals, or they may have some scouts that are working on cooking merit badge, so they want to do meals in sight. But it's been a very long time since we've been able to do have enough interest and demand from the units to do a full commissary program like you get at some camps where that's their entire kind of dining hall operation. But we can chat more about that offline if you're interested. Gluten-free and any other special diets, we will certainly be able to accommodate those. We've got a great history of being able to accommodate special diets, whether it's gluten-free or allergies or what have you. Typically what happens is our chefs will prepare those meals, and when the scouts in the past have been going through the buffet line, or now it'll be going through the cafeteria line, the scout who needs that or the adult who needs that meal goes into the kitchen and sees the cook and picks up their meal, and they've got it prepared for them. It's not, you're a vegetarian, so you get to eat the salad bar every meal. It's not that. They'll prepare good meals for the folks who have those particular needs. And so the best thing is to reach out to us about a week or two before the scout is planning to come to camp. We really don't need to know about it at this time of year. I have people that email me as early as February, January and February about this, which is fine. But I'm basically telling them at that point, if you reach out about a week before, 2 weeks before you come, I will put you in direct contact with the cook, and that way you guys can talk to each other and you have comfort level of knowing that the cooks know exactly what the needs are for that scout or for that adult, and then they'll be able to take care of that and prepare for that. If it's in the registration, we will pull that information. I know that that's an option in the new registration system, is you can put food allergies and things like that in there. I would still like to make sure that we get that contact. I really like being able to connect the parent with the cook, so that they can be able to ask any questions that they may have of you. So, you know, just sending us an email reminder a week or two before camp is a nice duplication of the fact that, yes, I know that is an option in the registration system now. Rob?
Hey, Brian, I missed the beginning, but what was the answer to the siblings 3 years or more tenting together? Is that allowed or not?
BSA's youth protection policy is 2 years gap.
Yep.
Is
Right, thank
so 3 years or more would not be permitted under BSA youth protection guidelines,
Thank you.
even if they're siblings. Other questions?
Brian, this is our patrol's first time going to summer camp.
Excellent.
So we are planning on doing the trail to first class,
Mhm.
hopefully in the morning.
Mhm.
Is it like a morning and afternoon set? Like, would they be like only signing up for like one merit badge in the afternoon, or is there like multiple?
Yeah, it's a great question. So the Trail to First Class program is a half-day program, regardless of which half of the day the scout selects to take it. So they can either sign up in the morning or they can sign up in the afternoon. They should not sign up for both because they're going to be getting the same program in both sessions. And as I mentioned before, Mammal Study Merit Badge is incorporated into the Trail to First Class program. So if they sign up for the morning program, they'll get their Trail to First Class skills with the emphasis on the outdoor skills, but they'll also have the opportunity to work on and complete Mammal Study Merit Badge. That leaves the other half of their program day to work on whatever merit badges they choose to sign up for. So that they're not restricted to just one merit badge during that time. They can sign up for whatever, or any other time outside of the Trail to First Class block. If they have time, and let's say they sign up for the Trail to First Class block in the morning and they've got that third hour free, they can sign up for a merit badge at that time as well. So they can certainly do that. When we put the schedule out, the merit badge schedule, it will also have recommendations on there for first year, second year, third year type merit badges. When those are the recommendations from our staff, as we've worked with scouts over the years, and they can tell you, you know, this is a really good badge for a first year, or et cetera. Like, for example, I know a lot of first year campers sign up for swimming merit badge. That's not always a good option for a first year camper. For swimming merit badge, I'm getting a good nod from Don Fremont. He liked me hear me say that there. I know it's kind of the instinctive, we're going to sign them up for swimming because they're a first year camper, get that taken care of. It's a challenging badge. If you're not a strong swimmer, that could be complicated. And we do have swim improvement. We have stroke improvement, swim instruction opportunities. So a scout that maybe isn't quite ready for that advanced opportunity, this is a better opportunity for them to maybe do in their first year and then come back and do swimming merit badge in the second year. By the way, there is a new requirement in life-saving merit badge this year that you must complete swimming merit badge before beginning life-saving merit badge. That's a new requirement for the badge. So scouts are not able to double up and do swimming and life-saving at the same time. They have to have completed swimming first, then they can start life-saving after that.
Okay.
At one time, swimming was part of TTFC. We have sometimes incorporated swimming, some of the swimming skills into TTFC. Yes, that is always staff dependent. It is dependent on how many qualified instructors, lifeguards we have, whether or not we can have somebody with that skill set in the Trail to First Class program to support that, because our aquatic staff is usually pretty full up on offering the program that we're offering at aquatics. So it's hard for the Trail to First Class team to bring them down, the scouts down to the waterfront, and then for us to peel off a staff member from aquatics to teach them those swimming skills. So if we have the staffing, which if we do, we'll let you guys know that when we've completed the process. But if we have that, then from year to year, that's more of a flexible one. If there are two troops scheduled for the same campsite, would these troops be able to connect in some way before the camp week? Certainly don't see why not. If that's something, I don't usually send out the contact information, but if that's something that, you'd like to get in touch with that other one, certainly just let me know and I can send you the contact for the other unit. This might also be an advantage of the fact that I'm planning to do the leader meetings prior to your arrival at camp, during the previous week, so we can connect you guys during that prior week and let you get a chance to get together. If we do end up having to go to a single occupancy tent situation, that's going to require some coordination between the units because we do have a lot of sites which are doubled up with troops. We have a lot of smaller units that if we have double occupancy, you guys have plenty of room. If we have single occupancy though, we can't have a situation where like one troop takes all of our tents and the other troop is fully responsible for bringing their own, right? It'll need to be some sort of like a half and half split on that situation, but that would be something that we'll work with you guys to try to work out. I'm hoping that that's not going to be a requirement, but I didn't want to spring it on you on July 1st and say, oh, by the way, you're going to need to bring tents. We're trying to anticipate the most restrictive environment and then go from there. Does it mean that the first year cannot take a badge if there is a restriction? There really aren't restrictions with the exception of shooting sports. There is New York state law that governs the shooting sports. A scout cannot fire a firearm unless they are 12 years old. And we strongly recommend 13 for shotgun just because of the size of the shotguns and the upper body strength that is required for that. But other than that, there are no age restrictions on any of the merit badges. These are recommendations that I was talking about before, first year, second year, third year, that are developed based on many years of experience and the staff members from those program areas giving us the feedback based on the scouts that they've worked with and said, you know what, usually this is not a great badge for a first year camper. There are some kids that are fish that can take care of swimming, no problem, their first year of camp. But there's others that struggle, and that's not going to be a great first year experience for them. So we try to provide you with guidelines, and the scouts and the parents know the scouts and what their capabilities are, and kind of give you the information you need, including prerequisites. There's prerequisites listed in the leader guide, the planning guide, and give you the tools you need to make the best decision as far as those kinds of things. But it's not, with the exception of shooting sports, there's nothing that has an age restriction. That and COPE. COPE, you need to be 13 for the full COPE high ropes program. There's no age restriction on climbing merit badge, however. Other questions?
Yeah, I have a question about blue cards. If it goes to electronic, is there still an opportunity for the Scoutmaster to review it ahead of time?
Review them in what way, Stu?
Well, that's how we prevent scouts from signing up for merit badges that aren't suitable for them, is where the Scoutmaster says
you guys are the ones that are going to be signing them up for the merit badges. You're going to be the ones entering it into the website, so you're going to have total control over that process. You're going to have more control over that process now than you used to with the on-site registration, because basically your scouts will give you what they want to do, and you will go into the computer and enter it for them. The units that are joining us from Waukpamani have experience with this. It'll be a different system because it's the different registration system, but it'll be very similar to the model that you guys have been doing in the past. Rotary has not been doing them online, but Waukpamani has. So how is information on partials distributed at the end of the week? Again, if we go with this system, like we have a couple things to look at. There's an opportunity to use the same registration system that you guys did for signing up for camp, can record all the merit badge advancement stuff, and you would have total access to that information in your accounts. There's also Scoutbook. So, a lot of you have been using Scoutbook already, so that's a different option that we can look at and are looking at. And so that's why we'll get back to you with some more of the concrete, but if we're doing an online version of it, you will have the complete record of what the scout has accomplished accessible to you through the online system, whether it's a partial or a completion.
Brian, I have a comment before we leave.
Okay.
I don't know if any of you other ladies and gentlemen had the opportunity to look at what Ed Keelan and his team have done with the history of Rotary. I want to make sure everybody that's on here tonight knows what a heck of a job Ed did and his team on the history of Rotary. Eddie, nice job. I haven't had a chance to reach out to you, but I figured tonight would be a good opportunity. So nice job. If you haven't had a chance, folks, get on there and take a look at it. He's done an excellent, excellent job. A lot of stuff I didn't know, and I've been going there for years. Nice job, Ed.
It is a fantastic series, and I will say that in terms of the production, anyway, his team is Ed. He put all that together. He does have some folks that have helped him with the history and the facts and things like that. But in terms of writing, narrating, production, camera work, the whole 9 yards, he's a one-man show. So he's done a fantastic job with that. And there is a history page on our website that will I'll just click right over there. So on our website, there is under the About Us section, there is a history page that has some old photos, a little brief history that Ed prepared for us, and you can link to our YouTube page and start watching the videos that Brian was just talking about. So it starts with pre-RSR, so pre-1922, what was there, starting going all the way back to the Native Americans who settled in the region. And it'll take you all the way up through the present day through a series of videos, roughly about one a decade through the process. And they're all hosted on our camp YouTube page as well. So strongly encourage you to check it out. They're fantastic.
They're also on the on my Facebook page, where you'll see the original form with all the music.
Yeah, there's only 2 of them that had copyright issues.
I believe he started with the Ice Age.
Yes, I said it was pre-RSR. It went pretty far back. And speaking of our YouTube page, this meeting will be hosted on there by tomorrow. We'll have that posted up on there. So if there's any parents or leaders that were not able to make it tonight and they're asking you questions or whatnot, you can feel free to send them the link to our YouTube page and they can watch this presentation on there. The history is on there. Our promotional videos are on there. We're doing a lot more with the YouTube this year than we have in the past. I'd encourage you to subscribe to our channel, especially since the more people we get to subscribe, the more options become available to us to use with the YouTube channel, including live broadcasts and things like that. So feel free to encourage folks to sign up and subscribe. Any other questions? I'll take you to the homepage here. I mentioned the campership application. That link is right here on the front of the homepage. It's the first article under our camp news. We also have the links to the counselor in training and staff application, which is also on our camp staff site right up here at the top. Any other questions? Our registration page has a lot of the tools that you need for things. I'll be continuing to update that. As you can see, we've got a pretty full camp. We're running 5 weeks of Scouts BSA program, and we're up to, I think, about 63 troops, with a couple more that have very recently reached out that I'm still working on scheduling. So we're getting up close to about 65. So we're basically averaging like, I don't know, what's that, about 12, 13 troops a week, and we have 10 campsites. So that's pretty good. Anything else? All right, folks. Well, please feel free to reach out and contact me. My email is all over this site here. You can email the camp director, or you can just use the email that I sent you all the link to this meeting at if you have any questions. I will plan on the next meeting being same time. I think we're on the third month, whatever this is. I think it's the third Monday, fourth Monday. We'll do the same thing again next month. And if there's any other news that comes out before then that we feel you guys need to know, we'll certainly send it your way. So thanks for joining us tonight, and look forward to seeing you all at camp. Thanks for coming out.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian.
Yep.